ඔවුන්ගේ අනාගතයේ කොටසක් වන්නට ඉඩ නොදෙන්න. ඔබ මුහුදු වෙරළට යන සෑම අවස්ථාවකම වෙරළ පිරිසිදු කිරීමට පුංචි මිනිත්තුවක් වැය කරන්න. ප්ලාස්ටික් සයිකල් විතින් පණිවිඩයක්.
In 2019, Kiehl's pledged to reduce 50% of its single-use polythene usage in stores by 2025. So far, on a monthly basis, we inspired 38,000 shoppers to switch to reusable bags and around 108 shoppers to bring their own containers for shopping. We replaced 132,000 plastic straws with paper straws while continuing to look for a sustainable solution for juice cups. Our top crust bread bags were replaced with compostable bags, reducing over 20,000 single-use polythene bags a day. Our fish, meat, fruit and vegetable counters also switched to compostable bags. That's not all. We continued to build awareness among our staff on the importance of reducing polythene usage and walk the journey towards reducing our impact on the environment, because together we can.
Did you ever wonder about the consequences of your consumption habits? The more you have, the happier you will be, is the message we are constantly told. However, our current unsustainable make, use, waste model is causing a severe impact on both people and the environment. The recent economic growth in Asia has lifted many countries out of poverty, but it has also created a large number of new consumers, with plastics having made their way to nearly every aspect of our lives. Global plastic use has increased 20 times as much in the past 50 years and is expected to double in the next 20 years. Worldwide, we are already producing about 300 million tons of plastic waste every year. Even if citizens in developed economies are using about 20 times more plastics per person than in Asian developing countries, in Asia, plastics have become a major concern, threatening the safety and quality of our health and food, negatively impacting our ecosystems and contributing to climate change. It is time to change. We should do our best to eliminate the use of plastics, especially single-use plastics. In a new circular economy, plastics waste can be used to produce new goods. In this way, we limit the quantity of plastics that is being generated. Governments should take strong action, promoting higher standards and innovative and available alternatives to plastics. Businesses must innovate and design plastics that can be safely reused, recycled, remanufactured or composted. Consumers must circulate all the plastic items they use and keep them in the economy and out of the environment. The European Commission launched in 2018 its European Strategy for Plastics in a Circular Economy, a directive on single use of plastics in 2019, and its new Circular Economy Action Plan in 2020 as part of its commitments within the EU Green Deal. The EU is also supporting the participation of its partner countries around the world to the Global Agreement on Plastics. Waste and plastics are two building blocks to push forward the transition towards a green economy. Since 2007, the Switch Asia program has implemented several grant projects promoting responsible supply chains and business practices, contributing to waste management and plastics in South Asia, Southeast Asia, and East Asia. The program is also providing policy support to Pakistan and Maldives on waste and plastics management, and to Lao PDR on minimizing, reducing, and preventing single-use plastics. These issues are universal, and they touch every person on the planet. Play your part. Rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle. Each one of us can make a difference. It is our common and shared responsibility.
The ocean. Our island is surrounded by it. We live in the midst of it. Mesmerizing, enthralling, pleasing. Our ocean is unique, a vibrant marine habitat. We have loyal whales who never leave our seas. Turtles who always return to our shorelines. Mangroves sequestering carbon. Dugongs gliding beneath the waves. Seagrass meadows pumping oxygen we breathe. Underwater reefs sheltering marine life. But they're struggling. Coral reefs bleached. Our seabeds scraped over by foreign fishing trawlers. We're depleting our marine life through overfishing. Plastic and chemical waste pollution gush into our oceans. Coastal sand is disappearing. Marine animals killed by dynamite. Turtles entangling in goose nets. Ships colliding with whales. Climate change. Global warming. Oil spills. Coastal construction. Ocean acidification. Ocean's life is draining. We need the ocean. Our survival depends on it. The sea around us is now a hotspot for geopolitics, trade, security, maritime ventures, and crime. Our impact on the ocean matters. Our ocean is our lungs, our hearts, our nerves. Without it, no one can survive. We can only thrive if our oceans survive. Let's strive to be the guardians of the ocean. Let us be the protectors together for our ocean.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second day of the World Oceans Day Summit. My name is Maleesha Gunawardana, and I'm the Advocacy Coordinator of the Pearl Protectors, and I will be the moderator for today's session on ocean pollution. Before we go into today's topic, I would like to mention our event partners. The World Oceans Day Summit is hosted by the Pearl Protectors in partnership with Marine Environment Protection Authority, Blue Resources Trust, and the World Ocean Day Organization. The summit will delve into all aspects of the ocean around Sri Lanka, highlighting key challenges, opportunities, and inspiring Sri Lankans to love and protect our marine environment. You can learn more about the summit on our website at pearlprotector.org. The topic for today's session is timely and important because we are witnessing one of the worst ecological disasters that we've ever seen in our own waters right now. And the survival of endangered marine animals from all over the world is being threatened because of marine pollution. And us humans are no longer immune to this issue because of microplastics. So this session will explore the sources of ocean pollution, impacts on marine life, and most importantly, the solutions in place. We have an incredible panel to talk about this topic today. I would like to introduce Dr. Terney Pradeep Kumara, who is the General Manager of the Marine Environment Protection Authority, and Ms. Sarojine Jayasekara, who is the Director of the Solid Waste Management Division at Central Environmental Authority, and Mr. Thorsten Bargfrede, who is the Acting Ambassador of the European Union Delegation in Sri Lanka and Maldives. Good morning to you all, and before we get started, I would like to request our audience to send us any questions that you may have by adding a comment on Facebook Live or YouTube, and we will be sharing the questions with our panelists at the end of the session. So to start off, I would like to invite Dr. Terney, who will be talking to us about marine pollution. Over to you, Dr. Terney. Thanks for joining us despite your busy schedule. Dr. Terney, I think we can't hear you. Can the team please get back to me on whether we have Dr. Terney? Right. We've lost Dr. Terney. Ms. Sarojine, let me move on to the question that we have for you today. So we know that household waste segregation is really important to reduce the amount of waste that ends up in our environment, be it landfill or our ocean. Ms. Sarojine, what are the existing waste management methods in Sri Lanka?
Yeah. Good morning, Manisha. Yeah. Good morning. Actually, in the this is actually that very timely discussion. So I thank you first of all, and then first coming to the topic and main strategies. So when we think about the main strategies and to manage the waste is the respecting the waste management hierarchy. So in the middle that recycling is coming after the avoidance and reuse. So in the recycling sense, waste segregation is very much important. So the strategy is that the segregation has to be done at the source. That is the most important thing. Then only we can promote or we can induce recycling. Fortunately, we have got all the facilities for recycling for all kind of plastic waste available in Sri Lanka. The challenge is the collection and uh, providing suitable material for recycling. That against the source segregation. So it is very key and most important thing, well addressed in the strategies in the country and the responsibility uh, going to the local authorities for collection, but uh, the segregation is with us as the public or the people in the country. So otherwise, without that help, even local authorities, even recycling facilities are available, we can't do the job properly. So this is a kind of integrated and involving topic. So recycling in the sense that is the status of the segregation, and now a lot of people are moving with the segregation program. Even local authorities are supporting, but still it is not at the level that we expect.
Thank you, Ms. Sarojine, and I completely agree with you on that. Mr. Bargfrede, the European Union delegation has several mechanisms in place to tackle pollution. Could you please talk to us a bit about what the European Union is doing to tackle marine pollution?
Well, I mean, just to explain the basics, as the European Union, you might know us here as a diplomatic actor or as a development partner, but back home we're the regulator of the biggest market in the world. 27 member states, over 400 million high-income consumers. This is a single market that has single regulations on a lot of standards. So this includes the environment and waste management. We have now a single-use plastic directive, just for example, in place since 2 years. And since this year, 10 single-use items like plastic forks, so that can easily be replaced, are forbidden Europe-wide. There are in each member state different strategies. Some started forbidding certain types of plastic bags. Others, let's say like Ireland, they simply put a small fee on each plastic bag. I think something like 15 cents, something like 20 rupees, and that reduced plastic bag use in supermarkets by 90%. So you can also have incentives simply for consumers to make the right choice in a way, because in the end you need everybody on board: the consumers, the companies, and the government. In the end, you do need a regulator. You do need government, in our case, the European Union, to set certain rules. And I think there are many ways to reduce it. We also have various directives and regulations, let's say, on port authorities, that they have to collect waste from ships, so the ships don't put it out at sea. There is a plastic recycling target, for example, by 2025, that 50% of all plastic should be recycled. Now, of course, the best way to reduce waste is not to have it in the first place, is to avoid it. Before we go into recycling or similar, to prevent the use of plastic, and single-use plastic in particular is the main thing. So there are strategies out there as well to have reuse, for example, of bottles. That is one way. Yeah, let me just stop here. Thanks.
Absolutely. We need to sort of stop pollution at the source. And thanks, Mr. Bargfrede, for highlighting the importance of that. And that's where bans and voluntary phase-out methods come in. So, Ms. Sarojine, what plastic items are covered by the current ban, and what can you tell us about the future phases of the ban, and also about implementing extended producer responsibility?
Yes, Manisha. Actually, first of all, I have to say that even we are putting some bans on unnecessary plastic items, which we believe that it is not needed as single-use plastics. And the first thing is the avoidance, and we have to prevent using those kind of things. I think that is more successful than banning. But recent in during this year, the first of from the January, so we have banned few items of single-use plastics like sachets less than 20 milliliter and 20 grams, except food and medicinal purposes, and cotton buds with plastic stem, and using PVC and PET packaging for agrochemicals, and inflatable toys. Those are the 4 items that we have put bans. That doesn't mean that that is the most problematic things, but as an initiative, as an eye opening, so the public, so that what kind of things that we have to prevent. But in the next list, of course, there is, if you have seen the next list, that we are listed the single-use straws, and then the plastic spoons, including yogurt spoons, very small spoons, and shopping bags. Most, I mean, the discussed matter in Sri Lanka. So I think, as you know, that we have done voluntary charging system, but it has been stopped due to some regulatory or that court decision. But we are struggling to reverse it. But I think that we have to have some other strategy to tackle the issue with the parallelly. The other thing that you will wonder that why the plastic string hopper trays. So that is not single use plastic, but if you know that it hot it heated up with the foods, that is more health impact than the environment, but we are eating microplastics and heated chemicals with our food. uh, as an initiative to, I mean, to avoid the people from the heated up using plastic with heated up food. That is the initiative that we are going to start. The other thing is maybe unique to Sri Lanka, the incense sticks and wicks. I mean, that packed in plastic or polythene packets, so that also that we have enough inundated alternatives. So those are the 5 items now we are listed, and inviting all the comments and ideas from the public and all the stakeholders on this. This would be, I mean, that going to be effect from January 2022. So this is the current situation on regulatory aspects, but still we believe that the behaviors and the consciousness of the people will have more effective and more visible impact on plastic usages than regulatory controls. Um, Therefore, we invite the people or the participants of this workshop to send us your ideas and that your concerns on this. So we will be able to consider in future activities.
Ms. Sarojini, could you also talk to us a little bit about the amendment that's going to be including the extended producer responsibility mechanism into our act?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Actually, that there are so many tools to be applied in managing plastics. So one popular tool is the extended producer responsibility. That is, even it spell the producer's entire loop, entire cycle has to be responsible, from the producer, the manufacturer, brand owners, dealers, even the consumers. There are role to play. Even the recyclers, they have role to play. So therefore, we have included in the coming amendment to the National Environmental Act some provisions to formulate regulations on extended producer responsibility covering this entire loop, from the importing, manufacturing, brand owners up to the consumer, ensuring their roles in this waste management process. So initially we have started discussions with the relevant sectors and stakeholders. Until such time we get the provision in the amended act. So I think near future we are stepping to try this tool in Sri Lanka, but at this moment there are small initiatives. Voluntary has taken by the industries and the concerned institutions, but it would be more streamlined once we have that amendment in the act.
Thank you, Ms. Sarojine. It's great news indeed. And with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Bargfrede, what actions particularly are being taken by the European Union to accelerate the transition to a circular plastics economy?
Well, I mentioned it already before a bit. I think there's always a mix of providing economic incentives and having regulations. Regulations are important at some point also to give businesses sort of a long-term strategic guidance in a way. It's always a little difficult if from one day to the next something is forbidden, but if there are sort of long-term perspectives, and this is what we do within the European Union, then companies can adapt their strategies and make sure that they can comply within a certain time frame. So the reduction of plastic and marine litter is a core of our internal strategies, but it's also important sort of on the global level for us. I mean, we are fighting hard for the implementation of the Paris Agreement on climate change, for example, but the European Union is also at the forefront of having a global treaty on plastic, for example. Over 100 countries have agreed to that. These are sort of long-term things. And sort of in the short term, we hope to reduce plastic by 50% within 5 years or within 2 years even. But we will see.
That's great news. Thanks, Mr. Bargfrede. I would like to tell our audience that we are trying to connect with Dr. Terney at the moment. I hope he will be joining us soon. And if he does, we will then direct your questions to him. Please add in any questions that you might have for our panelists, including Dr. Terney. And we will open to public questions in the last 10 minutes of the session. So moving on to Ms. Sarojine. Our children are the leaders of tomorrow, and the importance of environmental education cannot really be overstated. What initiatives are in place by Central Environmental Authority to raise awareness among children about plastic waste? I think we've lost Sarojine for a bit there. Until she comes back online, we will move on to Mr. Bargfrede. Mr. Bargfrede, could you please tell us about what does the European Union delegation hope to do in terms of bringing about solutions in Sri Lanka?
Look, of course, the solutions always have to be local as well. And so in the big picture, the larger EU strategy, we call it the Green Deal. The Green Deal means it's not just an environmental policy, the Green Deal is everything. Meaning whatever we do in terms of economic development, technology has to be sustainable. And it's the same in our development cooperation with other countries. So what we call green recovery is the main objective with Sri Lanka in the next couple of years. And so this should include all sorts of programs that lead towards green economic development. mean, we've just seen the clip beforehand. There is a project we just started to reduce marine litter in Maldives, the western Sri Lankan coast in South India, under the Switch Asia program. We have a smaller project as well, among others, with the Blue Resource Trust on biodiversity protection and the coral reefs. But these are sort of just some small examples. I think it's also important to continue reaching out to youth. You just mentioned it, to bring about society change. It cannot be only through regulation. You need people and everybody on board, I would think.
Absolutely. Mr. Bargfrede, we know that the EU is partnering for ecosystem restoration in Sri Lanka, and our ecosystem, specifically coral reefs, they are being threatened by ocean pollution as well. Could you talk to us a little bit about that project and what you hope to do in terms of restoration?
I'm a bit out of my depths there. I think that it has just started, and I think the main thing is always to look at protection, and second on restoration of coral reefs. I mean, there are already not many active coral reefs left in Sri Lanka. I know this myself as a diver. So and with the sort of constant threats, and now with the latest shipping disaster, it's going to be more and more difficult, I think. In particular, it's a Bari reef, I think it's called, up in Kapitia, which is one of the target areas of the project. It's a bit off the coast. It's not so much overused in a way by tourists or fishing, and so I think these are the activities out there to protect it.
Absolutely.
Somebody's coming back.
Oh, yes. Hi, Ms. Sarojine. Great to have you back.
I'm very sorry.
That's perfectly all right. So we were actually on our questions about education. Ms. Sarojine, can you please talk to us about what initiatives have been put in place by Central Environmental Authority to educate and raise awareness among children about plastic waste?
Of course, all our education program on environment focused on school children and the youngsters, because that that changing adults is very much difficult. But that we have some very good programs on among the schoolers. The main thing is the environmental pioneers. So through which we are doing a lot of activities, lot of awareness program through the environmental pioneers that we have established from grade 6 up to the A levels. Even even primary scale, we have some environmental clubs that doing a lot of activities. That also one theme is plastic waste, then avoidance, and mainly focused on how to behave with that and things like that. But apart from that, we have now recently started of educating the teachers and joining with the teachers training school. And I think that would be more effective, that because the teacher also knows what has to be implemented with the kids. So that is comprehensively addressed with the Minister of Education. I think that would be more successful. I mean, in the future, there may be our effort is to develop a more environmental conscious citizens in the country. So even the strategies, we have given more focus on that kind of awareness. Even that we are practicing waste segregation with some and provided some facilities even from the government itself, and in consultation with a lot of donor agencies to practice the waste segregation from schools and handling of that kind of waste, and take back that knowledge to the home.
That's really good news, Ms. Sarojine. And in your opinion, how important is engaging children in these, in these topics? Because we usually have the youth engaged and we talk about policies and laws, but it has to reflect at the grassroots as well. And like you said, children do take it up to their parents and inspire change. In your opinion, how important is it that we engage children and talk to our children about this issue at hand?
Yeah, of course, that is why that our one effort is the taking that knowledge to home means that they can change the parents, because that always parents are now here or that do with the kids what they say. So that is the trend now, and then even kids are very much obey to their teacher in a very kiddie level, so that what the teacher tell they tend to do. So that is what we are focusing teachers as well at this moment. I think that would be the best focus. So we are working on, but the policies and the things very small scale and very absorbable scale that we are putting into that kids, even more focus on avoidance. So from their day-to-day activities, that there's another initiative taken with the Minister of Environment and some plus company to recycling their pens. They are using to use at the schools. They are writing. I think they are using at least 4 pens a month, so that putting them into the recycling process, that also makes sense them to what they are using and what kind of things that they have to. What is their responsibility?
Thank you, Ms. Sarojine. And we spoke about this earlier. We know that we have a really terrible situation with regards to marine pollution in our waters and our beaches right now. There's so many plastic pellets just coating our beaches, and it almost looks like there's plastic snow. And unfortunately, we were not able to connect with Dr. Terney today. He's understandably he's quite busy with the current situation, with MIPA being the top government body in charge of handling marine pollution. But Ms. Sarojine, we do know that Central Environmental Authority issued certain guidelines with regards to the cleaning process of the nurdles out of the beach, and we have a lot of volunteers reaching out to us in terms of what they can do to help clean up this nurdle pollution. Can you please talk to us a little bit about what guidelines are the Navy and MIPA personnel taking while they're out at the beach, and what can the citizens also do if they were to come across any nurdle pollution in terms of cleaning up?
Of course, we are in a middle of a few disasters, not one. So we have to have some concerns on handling both disasters together. The main thing that we have to address here is that together, that there are two disasters together, the COVID and the pollution. So I think it's better that even the volunteers, if they can in touch with MIPA and closely follow the instructions given by them, because we have to handle the COVID situation, because that getting together will be a big issue in that sense, as well as the toxicity of the waste coming into the shore. So the personal protection as well as the latter steps of the waste management has to be looked into in this case. So it is true that we have to clean up our shores as early as possible, but I request all the volunteers to in touch with MIPA and do adhere to the instructions given by MIPA, because that we don't know that we have seen the huge content of plastic, but we don't know how it is contaminated with other materials in the ship. So So we have to carefully handle the things with the instructions given by MIPA. Be in touch with MIPA and under their supervision. So that is what I have to tell at this moment to the volunteers or the groups that would like to engage in this situation. There are three concerns. One is the COVID situation. They have to behave in that way, and their personal protection, safety, and that they are going to handle, and how it has to be collected and stored in proper manner.
Thank you very much for sharing that information with us, Ms. Sarojine. We have received a few questions from the audience, which I'd like to direct to both our panelists. So one of the questions is, there will be big issues in tourism industry due to the continuous damages happening to the coastal line in Sri Lanka. What do you suggest to overcome this? Mr. Bargfrede, perhaps you'd like to...
Are you talking, is the question related to the Express Pearl in particular, or a more general question?
I think perhaps pollution in general, plastic pollution in general.
Well, I think key is to have those on board who are using the coast and living at the coast. That means the communities and the fishermen. It's very important that they fully own the protection efforts. I mean, to be honest, 2 years ago we had a beach cleanup together with MEPA, not far from Colombo, with 100 people from our offices and the United Nations. The local fishermen were rather looking at us with odd eyes, and it was very clear that what we did was a symbolic effort to our own awareness, but without having those who use the beach and every day are fully on board, this doesn't work. And also there need to be economic incentives for fishermen to do the right thing, to not throw away gear once out there, to not to do fishing in a sustainable way as well. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Mr. Bargfrede. Absolutely. And another question that we have is that one researcher did a quite eye-opening talk on plastic recycling in Sri Lanka in one of the webinars that I attended. If I'm not mistaken, according to her, not all plastics can be recycled. Is this true? Mr. Bargfrede, would you like to talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not a specialist, but this is a lot of the plastics we collect here are not recyclable. Some who are recyclable need to be together with exactly the same type of plastic to be recyclable. So it's a complicated thing. It seems it's not easy, and a lot of what we use simply cannot be recycled. So that's why. Reducing and avoiding it at the first place should be the first choice, and second to reuse in a sort of circular concept, and only at the end should recycling through be the solution.
Thank you, Mr. Bargfrede. We have another question, and that is there any plans to start charging plastic bags given over the counters at supermarkets, clothing shops, or any other bigger shopping malls at least? Ms. Sarojine, would you like to take up that question?
Yes, I'm sorry that I'm interrupting because of my connection. But actually that we have started off that kind of initiative even back as 2008. But unfortunately, due to a court decision, we were not able to continue it. But we are trying to have kind of arrangement to review or that get the decisions revert. But until this time, we have we're going to introduce a kind of strategy to control bags using certain sizes. Below the certain sizes that we have to phasing out in the next list. So we are trying to have that kind of strategy, because due to the prevailing court decisions, we are not in a position to formulate regulations for charging for carry bags. But with that, we are trying to do something in some other way, avoiding that that barrier. But in the same time, that we are as strategies to reduce the land-based sources that actually contribute high percentage to the ocean pollution through avoidance. That is the first phase, and even the EPR. So we can pull the industries for going for design changes, or else that to design their product more at least recyclable, and and also that we also have waste to energy facility. Limit the waste to energy facility only for non-recyclables, and finally the landfill. Those are the main strategies that we are going to apply in future. And also controlling single-use plastics, including plastic beads, I mean the microplastic that deliberately produced to do products, the microbeads. So those are the main items, and including the EPR. So as a tool that we try to minimize the adding plastic to the environment. I think reducing the land-based sources, that we can reduce the ocean pollution, plastics coming into the oceans, rather than the incidents like it's happening today, the shipwreck. So we will be able to tackle for certain extent. But in the meantime, so that we are focusing on strengthening the institutional capacities, and and the legal background, and all the getting the active involvement of all the stakeholders, engagement, and the public. So those are the main things that we are in the lineup of the activities, the main prioritized activities uh, at the institutional level. And also in the bag sense, coming to the coming to the back matter again. So what I can request is that that again the behavior. So even without regulation, so I mean that telling that the regulation is a kind of a guideline, of course, that rather than punishing the people. But as we all know that the behaviors and the users. So individually we can do something, and even individuals getting together can do big things. Until such time we resolve these legal things, I think we can do it voluntary, and at least to bring a back to the shopping.
Thank you, Ms. Sarojine, for that very detailed explanation. So with that, we have now come to the end of the first session today. I would like to take a moment to thank our exclusive patron, the EU delegation in Sri Lanka, our summit patron, Dilma Conservation and Keels, and our supporting patron, Plastic Cycle. I hope you learned more about ocean pollution and solutions in place from our two wonderful panelists. And please do stay tuned for the rest of the summit as we explore the many facets to ocean conservation. And our next session will be on climate change and action, and it will start in another 15 minutes. Thank you so much, Ms. Sarojine and Mr. Thorsten, for joining us today for this session. I wish you all and our audience a very good day ahead. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.